In a country so small you could almost bike across it before lunch, the Netherlands somehow keeps building ideas that shape the planet. And from one quiet city, Delft, came some of the most precise hands and sharpest minds behind it all. Most people know Delft for its blue and white pottery, Delft Blauw, a craft so precise that each brushstroke still carries the calm focus of centuries old hands. These days, you'll find copies made everywhere from China to souvenir shops, but the real art of Delft has always been in that quiet precision, the same mindset that later shaped engineers, designers, and inventors. Since 1842, the Technical University of Delft has been turning out brilliant minds who looked at impossible problems and said, "Hey, I can fix that." They invented things we use every day. They discovered things we didn't know existed. And somehow they did it all from this one small corner of Europe, a city where art, science, and stubborn Dutch practicality have always shared the same space. This is the story of how Dutch innovation from one university has touched nearly every aspect of modern life, from the chemistry in our medicines to the music in our ears, from understanding the invisible world of atoms to cleaning the oceans that sustain us all. In 1871, a young man named Jacobus Henricus van 't Hoff graduated from what was then called the Delft Polytechnic with a degree in chemical technology. What he would go on to discover would fundamentally change chemistry forever. Van 't Hoff did something revolutionary. He figured out that molecules aren't flat drawings on a page. They exist in three-dimensional space, with atoms arranged in specific shapes. This field, which he pioneered, is called stereochemistry, and it explained why some chemicals behave completely differently, even though they're made of the exact same atoms. It's all about how those atoms are arranged in space. But his greatest achievement came from studying solutions, those everyday mixtures like salt in water. He discovered that very dilute solutions follow the same mathematical laws that describe how gases behave. This might sound abstract, it does to me, but think about what this means. Every intravenous drip in every hospital, every chemical process in pharmaceutical manufacturing, every understanding of how our blood carries nutrients, all of this builds on Van 't Hoff's work. In 1901, he received the very first Nobel Prize in Chemistry ever awarded, the first one, the Dutch scientist from Delft who saw what others couldn't see. The world impact? Modern medicine, pharmaceutical manufacturing, and our entire understanding of chemical processes in solution depend on his discoveries. Every time a doctor administers an IV, Van 't Hoff's principles are at work. Born in 1853 in Groningen, Heike Kamerling Onnes worked at TU Delft from 1878 to 1882 as an assistant and lecturer. But it was his obsession with cold, extreme, unimaginable cold, that would make history. In 1908, Kamerling Onnes achieved what many thought impossible. He liquefied helium, reaching temperatures near 1.5 Kelvin. That's about 272 minus degrees Celsius, or minus 457 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that in perspective, that's colder than the darkest depth of space. At that moment, his lab in Leiden held the coldest spot on Earth. But the real magic happened in 1911. While experimenting with mercury at these impossible temperatures, he discovered something that defied everything scientists thought they knew. At 4.2 Kelvin, electrical resistance simply vanished, disappeared completely. He called this phenomenon superconductivity. Imagine a world where electricity flows without any loss, without any resistance. His discovery opened the door to that world. In 1913, he won the Nobel Prize in Physics. The world impact? Today, superconductivity powers MRI machines that save lives by seeing inside our bodies, enables particle accelerators like the Large Hadron Collider that reveal the universe's secrets, and promises future technologies like magnetic levitation trains and lossless power transmission. The laboratory building at Leiden University still bears his name, and a street in Amsterdam, as well as a crater on the moon, are named after him. On July 27, 1904, something remarkable happened at TU Delft. Maria Elisabeth Bess graduated in chemical engineering, becoming the first female graduate engineer in all of the Netherlands. Think about what that means. In 1904, women in many countries couldn't even vote. They were expected to stay home. Engineering was considered impossibly difficult, unsuitable, and inappropriate for women. And yet, Maria Bess walked through those doors, sat in those classrooms filled with men, faced down every skeptical look and dismissive comment, and proved she belonged there. And here's where her story gets even better. She didn't just break through and walk away. She stayed and built a career. Immediately after graduating, she was appointed as an assistant in physics at the Polytechnic School. In 1919, she was promoted to permanent assistant in theoretical and applied physics by the Ministry of Education itself. Official recognition that she wasn't just a token, she was absolutely brilliant. For over 15 years, she worked in physics research and teaching at the university, contributing to the field while monitoring the next generation. But she didn't stop there. Maria Elisabeth Bess became a city councillor in Delft, one of the first 3 female city councillors in the city. She used her position to push for change, and she co-founded the free-thinking Democratic Women's League, actively fighting for women's rights. She was a trailblazer in 3 directions at once: engineering, politics, and women's rights. She didn't just open a door that had been locked for centuries. She held it open, pushed more doors open, and spent her life making sure other women could walk through them too. The world impact? She shattered the glass ceiling before that term even existed. Today, women make up a growing percentage of engineers worldwide, contributing innovations in every field from software to biomedical engineering. Maria Elisabeth Bess didn't just prove it was possible, she built the foundation for generations of women to follow. Lou Ottens graduated from TU Delft as a structural engineer and joined Philips in 1952. But he wasn't interested in building bridges or buildings. He was fascinated by something else entirely: how we experience music and sound. In the early 1960s, music was kind of trapped. Reel-to-reel tape recorders were expensive, bulky, and certainly not portable. Records scratched, broke, and wore out. Lou Ottens looked at this problem and thought, there's got to be a better way. In 1963, he and his team at Philips unveiled the compact cassette tape. It fit in your pocket. Anyone could use it. And for the first time, you could choose exactly what you wanted to hear, record it yourself, and take it with you. Mixtapes became love letters. Journalists could finally capture interviews anywhere. Musicians could demo their songs in a garage. The cassette gave people control over sound itself. Billions of cassettes were sold worldwide. The cassette tape democratized music. But Ottens wasn't done. In the 1970s, he spearheaded a collaboration with Sony that would result in another revolution: the compact disc, introduced in 1982. Crystal clear digital sound that didn't degrade, didn't scratch, well, not really easily, and could hold 74 minutes of music, reportedly chosen so it could fit Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Lou's world impact? He gave us the soundtrack to our lives. The cassette tape and the CD shaped how multiple generations experienced music, learned languages, enjoyed audiobooks, and shared culture. While streaming dominates today, it stands on the shoulders of Ottens' innovations that first made music truly portable and personal. Right after World War II ended, Simon van der Meer came to study at TU Delft. He would go on to help us see things that shouldn't be visible: the fundamental building blocks of reality itself. At CERN, the European Particle Physics Laboratory, van der Meer developed something called stochastic cooling, a technique that made it possible to control and focus beams of subatomic particles in accelerators. Imagine trying to herd fleas that are a billion times smaller and moving at nearly the speed of light. That's basically what he figured out how to do. His technique helped physicist Carlo Rubbia discover something called W and Z bosons. What's a boson? Think of it like this. If atoms are Lego bricks, Bosons are the invisible hands that snap them together. They're the messengers that let particles talk to each other. Van der Meer's work that scientists actually see these messengers for the first time. It's like finally seeing the glue that holds reality together. In 1984, Van der Meer and Rubia shared the Nobel Prize in Physics. Their world impact? Understanding fundamental particles helps us understand everything, from how stars burn to how matter itself holds together. The techniques Van der Meer developed are still used in particle accelerators around the world, including the Large Hadron Collider, which discovered the Higgs boson in 2012. What's the Higgs boson? It's the reason things have weight. Without it, atoms couldn't form. You, me, planets, stars, none of us would exist. We're literally seeing why the universe isn't just empty space. And it started with a Dutch engineer from Delft. And now we arrive at our chronological finalist, a young man who represents both the continuing legacy of TU Delft and perhaps the most urgent mission of our time. In 2011, at just 16 years old, Boyan Slat went diving in Greece. He expected to see fish. Instead, he saw more plastic bags than fish. Most people would have shrugged, felt sad, and moved on. Boyan Slat decided to fix it. He initially enrolled at the TU to study aerospace engineering, but in 2012, he won the Best Technical Design Award at the university for his marine litter extraction concept. So, in February 2013, he made a bold decision. He dropped out because his mission was too important to wait. He founded the Ocean Cleanup, a non-profit organization with an audacious goal to remove 90% of floating ocean plastic by 2040. Think about the scale of that ambition. We're talking about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, an area twice the size of Texas filled with plastic waste. We're talking about cleaning oceans that cover 71% of Earth's surface. The Ocean Cleanup has developed advanced technologies, massive floating barriers that use ocean currents to concentrate plastic, ships that collect it, system to intercept plastic in rivers before it reaches the ocean. They're not just talking about the problem, they're out there right now doing the work. The numbers tell the story. In April 2024, they hit 10 million kilograms of trash removed. 7 months later, in November, they reached 20 million kilograms. In 2024 alone, they removed 24 million pounds of plastic, more than all previous years combined. They now have a network of interceptors covering rivers in 8 countries, catching plastic before it ever reaches the ocean. Think about that. From a 16-year-old kid who saw too much plastic while diving to a global operation pulling millions of kilos of trash out of our waters in just over a decade. This world impact is very obvious. Our oceans are dying. Sea turtles choke on plastic bags they mistake for jellyfish. Microplastics are in our food chain, in our bodies, in the most remote corners of the ocean. The Ocean Cleanup represents hope, proof that we don't have to just accept the damage we've done. We can clean it up. We can do better. Boyan Slat embodies the very spirit of every innovator on this list. See a problem everyone accepts as unsolvable? Refuse to accept that answer and use engineering brilliance to change the world. So the next time you take medicine, get an MRI, stream a song, or read about ocean cleanup efforts, remember, there's a good chance someone from a small university in a small Dutch city made that possible. From Delft to the world. That's the legacy.